Hi, Tom Cole for the Steve Taylor Community Connection, and certainly an honor and privilege to do this, number one, every week, but even more so, I think, when we get to talk to people that we admire, we know, and both are true in this case. Mr. Sean Savage, you've had remarkable success in the financial industry, and here you take on this project, which we'd like you to chat about today. The V Project, you've been the driving force for that in our community. And if somebody doesn't know, Sean, what the V Project is, can you give us a little thumbnail sketch of what it is?
The V Project, what we did was, I looked at the data back in November when all the great news came out about the vaccines, how safe, how effective, but yet the polling was showing a lot of folks were very reluctant to take it. So there's kind of a disconnect there, and I said, well, maybe we can get together a group of community leaders and start to work together, a grassroots coalition, and just start educating and kind of working with our community to help them understand what this is all about with the vaccines and hopefully increase the percentage of folks that decide to take it. So we started that in November, and it built out to hundreds of folks, and we're just so fortunate with all the leadership that came on board. I feel like I'm just part of something that's really become a community asset.
It's interesting. That's a perfect segue, Sean, because we were chatting out in our green room, out in the showroom before we were coming on. I think it's been extremely successful, but so much of that is leadership, and it's interesting to me. You and Steve kind of lead the same way. That's what struck me, and what I was chatting with you about is it's never dictatorial. It's always inclusive of everybody. If somebody has an idea, hey, we'll listen to it. People respond positively to that kind of leadership. That's the kind of leadership where people want to get on board. So, credit to you for that, because this is a polarizing issue for some people. To me, it was never about politics. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or a Druid and you worship trees. I could care less. This is a health issue that we're protecting, our parents, our grandparents, our children, to me, but some people want to make it political. How'd you get around the political part of that?
Well, we have a big tent, and so we invited anybody that wants to participate in it. And we were very fortunate early on, just because so many people that I admire, became a part of this.
Yeah.
Whether it's the CEO of Owens Corning or Dana or Owens Illinois or the Andersons or Steve or you deal with any of the community leaders on the not-for-profit side and then the government leaders. We were fortunate to have Governor DeWine into one of our first meetings. He came on board, and also Senator Portman, Senator Brown. So as you can see, we're colorblind.
Yeah.
We have a huge, diverse population within the V Project, but also we're politically colorblind. We don't care, about that. It's all about how can we help this community? How
Right.
can we get to a place where we're all much safer? And we're getting there. That's the good thing. A lot of people are saying, well, great news, we're able to now limit the mask and kind of open things up. And that just hasn't happened. When vaccines started in the country, we had over 3,000 people a day dying from COVID. Today, that number is about 600 and declining rapidly.
Yes.
So there's a reason why we now have more of our freedoms back. It's because of the vaccines. And so that's just, people have to, if they make that connection, I think that's critical.
What was, and you have created a tipping point. There's no question where we were 4 or 5 months ago and where we are today. And I even hear in conversations, people that were on the polarized political end and not doing it for a political reason, coming on board, finally realizing that it's a health issue. But what's the hurdle that's left, Sean? What's left? Is it getting out into reaches of the community that we haven't touched yet, making it more available in a rural area? What's the next hurdle?
I think the next hurdle is for folks that they're thinking, if I get this, I'm going to be okay. And for the most part, they're right. You're a 28-year-old, you're strapping good health.
Right.
It's the high statistical probability you're going to be just fine if you get this. I look at my sons who both get vaccinated, but if they decided, hey, I'll just take the risk, I understand that. But the issue is, and I tell everybody about kind of breaking the chain, and the chain is, if I get it, I'm a 28-year-old in great health, and I just happen to give it to a buddy of mine who gives it to his grandma, who she passes away 3 weeks later. How bad would you feel?
Yeah.
Anybody that's a living, breathing human being would feel terrible if they were part of a chain that led to something bad happening to somebody. So I think it's all about saying, you know, we're doing this not only for ourselves, which is key, and I think it's empowering once you're back. I feel great about it. I would not be sitting here without a mask on. You know,
I agree.
You feel great. Now, my wife, we've gone to weddings, we've gone to restaurants. We're just doing so much more.
I agree.
And feeling comfortable about it.
Totally agree. And you know, it's about a line of transmission. And if you are not going to get it or in that classification but you could give it to somebody else who is vulnerable and could pass away. So, you know, you've done, again, I know it's not over because I remember I said it to you just a little bit ago. You go, hey man, we're not done yet, you know? So I know it's got to, you know, you're still going, you're still working at it, but got to tell you, you know, the Man for Others thing at SJ, you know, that is not just a mantra, that's something that people live. I mean, Steve lives it, and you live it, and Crosby does it, and he's on the board at St. John's. So we adopted him as a, you know, a favorite son. But for all you've done in the community, Sean, you just step up and take the time away from your regular job, which you know, you need to earn a living also, right? I'm sure you're doing this 24/7, the V Project. Thank you on behalf of the community, what you and your staff have done.
Well, we appreciate it. And the only other thing I would add is this is something that will go beyond the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, this cross coordination that's happened with all the faith leadership, all the academics, the schools that have now are working together, all the businesses, leaders that have gotten to know each other through this, all the not-for-profits that are now. So there's been a lot of cross-pollination through this, and a lot of people now, they know more people in the community because this has been kind of something a lot of folks have jumped in on. And they really believe that, you know, as we face maybe other challenges in the future as a community, that now we have kind of this network set up that we can tackle them. So I'm pretty psyched about that.
Sean, you were fantastic as usual. And now you get the best part of the interview. The boss will come in part two and finish it up. But Thank you for all you've done, Sean.
Sure. Well, thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
My honor.
Hey everybody, Steve Taylor here with our guest today, Sean Savage. And you know, what an educational, quick interview with Tom there ahead of time, teaching us a little bit more about the vaccine. But what I want to ask, and I think a lot of the viewers will probably want to know, is how did you get so involved in this?
Yeah, so I think the key is there was just a moment. First of all, I had so much respect for everybody that was on the front line on this. I mean, if you think of the medical personnel, I have friends that they were treating COVID patients. I mean, and their stories and how much fear they had every day just with their families. So, and the front line, you know, just supermarket workers, anywhere, you know, that they're out there doing this. So I always felt like, you know, where can I, as a non-science person, non-medical, how can I help? And so I just, you know, we just had this idea one day that hey, we've got this gap here between those that might be, you know, a little reluctant on the vaccine, and then having such safe vaccines. You know, we need to figure out a way to reach out to the community. So it was just, I was like, this is my chance. This is my chance to give back like everybody else has been through the pandemic.
Oh, that's awesome. So how did the idea come to fruition?
Yeah.
Was it just you and a group of people talking about it?
Actually, I run every morning, and I have different ideas that come up, and I finished one of my runs back in November, and I was like, okay, I now have something I think I can go to the community with. Okay. And so it's just something that came to me. I don't know, you call it divine intervention or something. Right. I can't take total credit for it, you know. But it was just something that and the other thing that happened, the first 10 or 15 people I reached out to from the business community, the educational community, they're all like, yes, this is a great idea, let's do this. And so, you know, I just became part of something much bigger.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, everyone needs a catalyst, right? So you were that person. The community owes you a debt of gratitude for what you've done. I think it's awesome too. You talk about the cross collaboration, like you said, the business leaders, the religious leaders, the schools. Talk a little bit about that. And then I know as well, like our mayor, the governor, senators, you've done such a great job of bringing all these people together. Talk about the formation and how you got everybody to work together. They can't do it in Washington. You know, maybe we're onto something here. Sean got somebody to do this in a matter of months. But how did you do that?
Well, I think, Steve, I mean, number one, I mean, you know, what you do in the community and what Taylor does, it's just unbelievable. So I think, you know, it's about being part of something that's maybe a little bit bigger, you know, and just saying, hey, and then also knowing that everybody's just a human being, you know. So, you know, it takes. I'm 50 years old now. It probably took me 50 years to be not intimidated to speak to the governor, you know, of a state or a senator. So it's just everybody, you know. There's so many people that this is the number one issue they've woken up with for 14 months. You know, it's on their mind. It's on everybody's mind. And so to get somebody to be part of a solution actually wasn't that difficult, you know, and But we've taken an intentional approach to remain positive through this. Okay, we're not gonna try to argue with somebody. We're not gonna, everybody's gonna have different thoughts and opinions. Our job is hopefully bring facts and also just have folks look at it from different angles. Look at this thing from different angles, and if they do that, maybe at some point they're like, aha, now I get it, I understand it, and I'll move forward.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm sure you've got some stories. I always ask our guests if there's a story, something that sticks out, like a positive story that's come from this. Is there anything that sticks out of your mind, maybe working with some of these folks, that sticks out, like a fun story?
Well, one of my favorite stories in this whole thing is we had this meeting in January. We invited the governor, and he was so gracious to come into the meeting. And we had 220 people there. I was sweating, man. I was like, this is scary stuff.
Sure.
I got the governor DeWine. Everybody's been watching him for 14
Right,
months.
right.
He finishes up his thing. He spoke for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, much longer than we thought. And we get to the end, and I was like, Governor, we have these V Project pins, okay? So anybody in the community gets to earn this pin after their second vaccination. And it's off the Rosie the Riveter, which is back in World War II.
Sure.
Okay, so we just kind of re-brought Rosie back, into the community.
Nice.
And so I said, Governor, and at that point he wasn't eligible to be vaccinated. He was still too young, and it was over 70 at that point or something. And I said, Governor, you've earned half your pin, and he says, what do you mean? I said, well, by coming to the V Project meeting, you have earned half your pin. I said, the other half you get when you get vaccinated. And he actually he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the banner back and forth.
Right.
And then probably 8 weeks ago, once he was fully vaccinated, we sent him a V Project pin.
There you go.
So
That's
it's pretty
awesome.
cool. So it's a lot of fun.
We also like to ask folks when they come in how people can get involved. And so in this case, obviously, I think maybe the viewers want to know how can they get vaccinated. I know there's millions of different ways, right? But then there's still people that are struggling. Maybe even having a hard time for transportation, finding a place to go, or don't have the internet access to go and make appointments. But talk a little bit about that, and how can people actually get vaccinated? Maybe the folks that can't just go out and get it done.
Yeah. Okay. So there are plenty of options. So in terms of just actually getting vaccinated, and if you don't have a computer, you can call the local health department.
Sure.
Okay. And you know what? Call me. Call my number at 419-350-4348. And I mean it sincerely. We'll help somebody. We'll help anybody. If you have the website, if you have web access, you go to vproject.org. And you can send a message through there, and you'll get an answer that day. Okay, we'll hook you up. We have mobile clinics now, mobile vaccines. So we got the TARDA bus that's repurposed now for
That's
a vaccine.
great.
It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow. Yeah.
The fire department last week had a unit for 5 straight days going to all parts of the community. We have opportunities for people to volunteer too. So we're doing door-to-door canvassing. So people can canvass in their own neighborhood. We get them flyers. They just go door to door. It is an invigorating experience. I've done it twice, and it's just the positivity that comes out of that is awesome. So you're handing out flyers. On the back of that is all the options they have to get vaccinated, and then some information on the front. We have a call center. We're making tens of thousands of calls in the community, just outreach. So people can sign up and be a call center person.
Right.
So there's a lot of different volunteer opportunities. Once again, vproject.org, and they can get set up. And I can tell you, just anytime you volunteer for something, I feel like you get more out of it than you put into it. And that's the same way I feel on this.
Yeah.
So it's
We've
awesome.
been doing it a long time, like Tom said, a man for others for sure. St. John's, a fellow St. John's Titan. Good way to end. Thanks for coming in. Thanks you for tuning in. Also, Sean gave you all sorts of ways you could help out. Obviously, phone calls, canvas in the neighborhood. There's millions of ways to help get involved, and even if you just want to get vaccinated, right? That's a big way to help.
Absolutely.
So thanks for being in the studio today. It's great to see you.
Thanks for all you're doing, Steve.
Sure thing. Before we sign off, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Chris Brickman, another fellow proud St. John supporter, making a climb of Mount Everest that I think he actually got a little derailed. I don't know if you guys have been following around on his blog, but now he's fully immersed over in over there helping out with COVID cases. I think 300,000 to 500,000 COVID cases a day, and Dr. Brickman is helping out over. Instead of going up Mount Everest, he's actually giving back over there. So another shout out to a fellow St. John's Titan. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.